So after my previous video got 200 views, wait, what's that? 1,000. What? 1.5. Okay. So after I successfully duped 1,500 people into watching my previous video, got 3 billion notifications, and received the most positive comments on the entire platform. Seriously, you guys are so nice. I decided to actually work on my game, given I was free from school due to the sickness. I actually wrote the sickness on the script. What am I doing? So, after chugging a mini, I started working. Most of the changes I made were polishing changes, although the game is still nowhere near polished. Like for instance, these flying guys no longer swing an entire block when they change direction, and their hitbox aligns with their sprite, and this took so much work, but you know me, only the best for my viewers. After all the polishing and balancing for the first boss, I playtested and balanced all the classes a little bit, and here's the summary. As always, the mage is the most OP. Mage is the best class anyways, so this makes sense. It does struggle with regular enemies, but it excels at boss fights. Ranger is at the moment a worse version of Mage, although as progression goes up, the two classes will diverge. Mage will become better at dealing with regular enemies, while Ranger will stay focused on bosses. Melee needs some defense buffs as it is. It's weaker than other classes, but it's also the second best at dealing with regular enemies, which means faster progression because you don't die as much. And Summoner is like Melee, where it's not very good at boss fights, but it is very good at dealing with enemies. It's the opposite of Ranger in that regard. I'd still like to know how these classes are balanced though, as well as the bosses, especially how fun the boss fights are. Suggestions for new attacks or things to add could make the boss fights more fun and are very much valued. I read every comment anyways, until I get famous of course. Every YouTuber over 1,000 subscribers does not care for their fans. If you could let me know if a class is too weak or too strong, or if a boss fight should be more or less challenging with more or less attacks, that'd be a big help with developing my game. The more suggestions I get through, the slower the game gets made, and I kinda want to speedrun development until I get to this guy, mainly because I got someone else to make a really cool theme for him, playing in the background probably, and I have an idea for how his boss fight will go. Anyways, suggest a way, and if it's technically possible within the limitations of SFML and my skill, I'll make it work. The first boss is pretty much finished though, and all the classes should at least be strong enough to beat it, given you craft a luminescite tier of gear, of course. There's also two different types of armor, a tank set for melee and ranger, and a damage set for mage and summoner. I haven't playtested these yet, so I'm again leaving that up to you guys, so let me know if any of the items or sets are broken. Anyways, the first and second bosses are done, and all the loot up to the second boss is done as well. I guess the only actual new feature I added in between now and the last video is the ability to regenerate ore veins when bosses are killed. Useful for the new Corrupium set and pretty much every item past the lead and iron tier. First, I wanted these veins to generate the way the world does, using Voronoi generation. Basically, we create a grid of randomly offset points, give each point a type of block, loop through every block and find the closest point, and set that block to the closest point's block. But when I tried to implement this, it didn't work in the slightest, so I just made ores generate in circles. It's much simpler, plus it works and looks just fine. It's not very complicated though, so it's not interesting. The next feature I want to add after I make sure boss 1 and 2 are working fine are proper caves. At the moment, the caves suck and are doo-doo and remind me of my siblings, so I want to improve them. I heard somewhere that you can do some fancy thresholding to octave Perlin noise to make cave structures, so I think I'm going to try and implement this sometime in the future. You could also do a similar thing with cell noise, but that's a decidedly less cool result, so I think I'm going to use Perlin noise. Anyways, I'm going to go get some milk. I'll be back in 30 minutes and go brush your teeth.